You're at the kitchen counter with your spouse doing that ritual modern couples know too well, refreshing the banking app and asking how a solid income keeps evaporating. Together, you're earning $138,000 a year. That's higher than what your parents ever cleared combined, probably beyond what your grandparents pictured as making it. On paper, you should be ahead, investing consistently, booking trips without stress, sleeping well at night. Instead, you're debating whether replacing the brake pads needs to wait another month. You've got maybe 8 weeks of expenses saved. When the water heater failed recently, it went straight onto a credit card. You both work full-time, often later than you planned. Most nights you see each other in passing, exhausted. And the twisted part is you checked every box. Degrees, stable careers, a home in a respectable district. You followed the formula. So why does it feel like quicksand? Today, we're walking through the real arithmetic behind why 2 paychecks can leave you feeling poorer than 1. The numbers won't feel good. In 2003, a Harvard bankruptcy scholar named Elizabeth Warren published findings after studying more than 2,000 families who had filed for bankruptcy. What she uncovered should have dominated headlines. These households weren't reckless. They weren't splurging on boats or Mediterranean cruises. Adjusted for inflation, they were spending 33% less on clothing than families in the 1970s, 23% less on food, and 51% less on appliances. They were, by measurable standards, more frugal than the generation before them. So where did the money disappear? Warren identified something counterintuitive. 2 incomes didn't automatically create stability. They often increased fragility. Dual-earner households were more likely to declare bankruptcy than single-income families. Twice the work, 2 salaries, full participation in the modern economy, and higher odds of financial collapse. Consider this comparison. A single-earner household in the early 1970s brought home about $44,000 in today's dollars and spent around 54% on fixed costs. That left roughly $20,000 in discretionary breathing room. Fast forward to the early 2000s, a dual-income household earns about $76,000. That's roughly 75% more income, yet their mortgage costs climbed 81%, health insurance rose 74%, and new categories appeared: $6,500 annually for childcare, $8,500 for a second vehicle. Their effective tax rate rose from 24% to 30%. After all fixed obligations, the family earning over $30,000 more had about $1,800 less discretionary income than the earlier single-earner household. More gross income, less margin. And that was before housing accelerated. Meet the Rodriguezes. Elena works in communications, earning $72,000. Daniel is in cybersecurity, making $78,000. Combined income, $150,000. Early 30s, diligent savers, finally house hunting. They're eyeing a basic 3-bedroom, 2-bath in a solid district. Nothing luxury, standard finishes, neutral carpet, modest yard. Asking price, $510,000. In 1970, the national home price-to-income ratio hovered near 2.6. A home cost about 2.5 years of household earnings. By 2025, that ratio touched 7.0. In places like San Jose, it exceeds 12. San Francisco sits around 10.5. Los Angeles nearly 11. 2 incomes didn't create advantage, they became the entry ticket. In Southlake, Texas, homes inside a top district approach $1.5 million versus roughly $550,000 outside it. That's nearly $1 million premium tied to a boundary line. Nationally, affording a median-priced home in 2025 requires household income between $112,000 and $141,000. Median household income is about $83,150. That means 74.9% of U.S. households, over 100 million families, cannot afford the median new home. The median first-time buyer is now 40 years old. It used to be late 20s. The Rodriguezes secure the house with 10% down, $51,000 scraped together over years. Mortgage, $3,320 per month. Add taxes, insurance, upkeep, and they're at $4,400 monthly, around 35% of gross income. They reassure themselves rates will fall, raises will come, but the headline $150,000 income isn't what it seems. Fixed costs don't add, they compound. Healthcare First. Their employer-sponsored family plan carries total premiums of $26,993 annually. They pay $600 per month out of pocket. Deductible, $3,000. Copays layered on top. Total annual healthcare spending roughly $10,500, about $875 monthly before illness. In 1999, comparable premiums were near $5,791, nearly five-fold growth. Insurance and property coverage jump 8% this year to $300 monthly. Auto insurance for 2 cars, $260 monthly, up 46% since 2022. Car payments total $720, gas $340, groceries $1,000, utilities, internet, phones $400. Housing $4,400, healthcare $875, cars $720, auto insurance $260, gas $340, home insurance $300, groceries $1,000, utilities $400. That's $8,295 in fixed costs. Add student loans at $540 and ordinary life expenses. After taxes, they bring home about $9,200 monthly. After fixed costs, roughly $900 remains for everything else: retirement, emergencies, repairs. Both working full-time, yet thinner than a prior generation on one paycheck. Here's the risk. Both incomes are committed. If one disappears, they don't lose 50%, they lose functionality. Unemployment insurance replaces about 37% of wages on average, and in 33 states covers less than half. Bankruptcy filings rose 14.2% in 2024 to over 517 cases. Married couples with children were twice as likely to file than single couples. Top drivers, job loss at 78%, medical issues at 65%, divorce. One disruption can undo years of effort. Now examine Elena's $72,000 salary. Federal tax roughly $9,200, FICA $5,500, state tax at 5% $3,600. Total taxes about $18,300, net $53,700. Childcare for 2 children at $14,400 each totals $28,800, remaining $24,900. Commuting 9,000 miles annually at 72 cents per mile equals $6,480, now $18,420. Add exhaustion spending, food delivery 3 times weekly at $65 per order equals $10,140 annually. Cleaning service $4,200, convenience food premium $2,000. Total exhaustion cost $16,340. After everything, Elena's salary effectively nets negative. Even cutting that exhaustion spending in half leaves roughly $8,000 annually, about $650 per month, around $3.75 per hour. This is the two-income trap, not laziness, structure. Now consider the Lees. Marcus earns $85,000, Olivia makes $60,000. Combined, $145,000, similar profile. They bought a $300,000 house in a respectable but not elite district. Mortgage, $1,950 instead of over $3,000. They drive paid-off 2013 Toyotas. Monthly fixed costs built around Marcus's income, $4,300. Olivia's after-tax take-home, about $46,000, flows directly to investing. They max 2 Roth IRAs at $14,000 total, contribute $15,000 to 401ks, and send the remaining roughly $17,000 to emergency funds and brokerage accounts. After 6 years, investments exceed $350,000 and the house is nearly paid off. If Olivia loses her job, essentials remain covered. If Marcus's loses his, hers carries the load. Options instead of panic. At a 50% savings rate, what living on one income effectively creates, a family spending $50,000 annually needs $1.25 million to reach financial independence. Saving $45,000 to $50,000 annually with typical returns can reach that in 12 to 15 years, not 40. The rules are simple but uncomfortable. Automate the second income into savings. Apply the 50-30-20 rule to raises, 50% to savings, 30% to lifestyle, 20% to taxes to prevent lifestyle inflation. Use geographic arbitrage. Earn high-wage income while living where the price-to-income ratio is 3.2 instead of 12.2. Above all, never allow fixed costs to demand both paychecks. The trap doesn't arrive loudly. It forms through reasonable decisions: slightly larger house, reliable second car, daycare just for now, midweek delivery because you're tired. A decade later, you're earning $150,000 and living paycheck to paycheck. Nothing malfunctioned. The system absorbed both incomes before you accumulated resilience. Home price to income ratios climbed from 2 to 7. Childcare exceeds college tuition in 38 states. Health premiums quadrupled since 1999. A second salary can net $3.77 per hour after all associated costs. This isn't merely budgeting failure, it's structural pressure from decades of essential costs outpacing wages. The exit is clear. Refuse to anchor your survival to two incomes. Keep fixed costs low, bank the difference, buy flexibility. The only defense is recognizing the pattern before it owns you. Now you have.